What's up, everybody? Amber Bradley, Executive Director for RLPSA, here with Scott Denton, founder and CEO of Amphion Integrated Solutions. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Good. Okay, we had to get you into RLPSA hot seat because the Amphion emergency lockdown system, you are the creator of this thing, and it was all the rage at the recent RLPSA conference with everything that these restaurants have to deal with these days. So tell us, for those audience that weren't at the conference, which would be crazy, but tell us, how does this system work?
Well, if restaurant staff feel that there's a threat outside of the restaurant, they just hit a button and the button locks all the exterior doors down. They can still exit, but nobody can enter the location at that point.
That seems super important today, especially even in the quick serve, right, environment. If someone who is maybe agitated or getting upset in the drive-through function, that's like, oh, they're coming into the restaurant or something like that. So they can, simple as pressing a button, I'm assuming, is it in different locations of the restaurant for those that are working the drive-through or the front end?
Yeah, for quick serve, absolutely would want the buttons at the drive-through window or windows, and probably one near the front counter. But usually they can sense the threat, and in a quick serve, they're dealing with somebody outside the restaurant, and that's usually when people will get agitated and want to come in and cause problems. So, absolutely want them at the drive-through windows.
So, as the creator of this technology, which is super simple and easy to implement from a restaurant perspective, like, what made you create this? Was it just obviously seeing the increase in disgruntled customers, or what made you come up with this?
Well, just hearing about all of the violence happening inside the location that usually starts on the outside of quick serve restaurant locations, and then it finds its way inside rather quickly. Knowing that they didn't have any way to quickly lock the locations down. Usually the locations are using a dogging key to lock, or they're having to go over with a thumb turn or even a key to lock the exterior doors, which takes too much time. And they put themselves also in jeopardy by potentially coming face to face with the person as they're coming in the door when they're trying to lock the door down. With this, they just hit the button and it locks it immediately.
Yeah, and your example made me think of potential other examples. Wondering if you're hearing this from folks using this technology. Maybe a restaurant in a more crime-ridden location, like maybe something that's like where maybe the restaurant has closed and they're cleaning up for the night. That might make it also easy to feel safe when they're not even in operation.
Absolutely. And the locations that we put these in, they're using it to lock the restaurant down at closing time. They just hit the button and it locks all the doors. They don't have to go around and look for the dogging key or whatever device they happen to use to lock the doors down. Just hit the button and all the exterior doors are immediately locked.
So obviously you have several customers already implementing this. Like, what are you hearing after the fact? Like, they've implemented it. Like, what stories or anecdotes are you hearing?
Well, I was blown away with how emotional these people that are using it got after having it installed. How happy they were and how safe they felt at work. And I really underestimated how I guess how much fear we were in these folks that were having to stay in these restaurants, late at night or even during the day and have an incident happen. And a lot of these locations, there's teenagers working, there's younger adults, and the managers themselves are typically younger too, and they feel responsible for everybody in the location, not just the employees but customers too. And now they feel a lot more confident and secure going to work and knowing that they can push that button and keep the threat out. And I was surprised how often they told me that they use it as well. How many times they've used it, in the first weeks that the system was installed.
Which is certainly a sad commentary on society at large. But I will say your point is so overwhelming about the emotion of this. And you think about labor, right? I mean, restaurants are still struggling with labor, and Are you hearing that the fact that people are feeling safer in their locations due to this technology might be a way to keep employees longer?
Absolutely. And in fact, one of the first restaurant owners that I talked to that approached me, it was when I was developing the solution. She told me she was going to lose her business if she couldn't find a solution, because there were too many managers of hers were getting punched in the face and quitting, and then she couldn't find people to replace them. And we're finding we put them in locations that are in a bad area, but finding that one of the initial pilot locations was in a nice area, and they were having the same problems.
Yeah, it seems like doesn't matter where the location is these days,
Oh,
Okay, so I'm sure the listener's next question is, okay, Scott, like what is the installation? Is this like super complicated technology? I got to take my doors off, put all new doors on. Like, tell us from an installation, and you're in the hot seat, so you got to be straight up. Like, how complicated is it?
well, good news is most of the time we can use your existing door hardware and just retrofit a device inside of your existing crash bars that are on your exterior doors. And if your doors don't have one, we can just add a electrified door hardware onto the existing door. There's wiring that has to be done, so each door has to be wired, and each button has to be wired. And it's not a wireless system. We want it to be more reliable and
Yeah,
maintenance free. So
yeah, that's
also,
sweet.
yeah,
Maintenance free. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, we have a couple options. The initial locations that we installed in didn't have fancy lights on things. Our most recent version of it is this here, and it's got a red light and a green light. The button pushed in and twist to unlock the doors, pushed in, locks it. Red and green light. Red light, way that one of our customers wanted it was red light when the system's in lockdown, green light when it's in its normal state or doors open. And if you have more than one button, most locations do, all of them the LEDs will be the same. Even if only one button's pushed in, all of the LEDs change based on the lock state of the doors.
Yeah, it doesn't get much simpler than that. When you're facing a threat, I think one of the things, employees are stressed out. They're like, that's an upsetting situation. To have something so simple to utilize to keep them safe is critical.
Yes, yes. And when we install it with a power supply with a battery backup that'll keep the lights working. Usually in power outages, quick serve restaurants want to shut down anyway. But we decided we put battery backup in place so the system can remain operational.
Well, and two, I'm sure you guys find as experts in installing technology in restaurants, power supply. If you don't know anything about power supply, it's often fluctuating based on the different types of equipment that are on that same power grid. You didn't know I knew that, but that's part of my repertoire here. Power supply. So that's really important too, because in a critical situation, you wouldn't want the employee to be hitting the button and nothing happening, right?
Right. And if let's say the power supply is completely exhausted, the battery backup's completely exhausted, the system will go into a locked state. So it's still secure.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. All right. Thanks so much, Scott. Super important information on such critical technology. If they want to know more information about Amphion, what do they do?
Just email info@amphion.biz. AMPHION. Yep.
Yes. Oh, info@amphion.biz. All right, Scott Denton, CEO, founder of Amphion. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye, Amber.
Bye.